Within hours of the blast, the city beyond the cornfields became a cratered inferno, and the fallout it birthed did something worse than kill outright. It twisted survivors into ravenous shadows that could spread their curse with a single bite. Thursday's shift started like any other. I clocked in at 6 p.m., tugged my hair into a bun, and began rounds. Mr. Hernandez needed his insulin. Ms. Doyle wanted the TV turned to another grisly crime show. Old Mr. Callahan, sharp as broken glass at 93, stopped me mid-hallway to remind me his daughter would visit Sunday. Could I make sure the poker set was ready? I promised him, because that's what you do in a nursing home. You promise tiny futures to people whose pasts are bigger than what's left ahead. The sky outside the day room windows was bruised purple. On the muted lobby television, a news ticker crawled about rising tensions overseas, but war had been a rumor for as long as I'd held a license. Somewhere, someone was always pointing a warhead at someone else. At 7:42 p.m., every light in the building flickered. A heartbeat later, every phone screeched, the emergency tone. Nuclear detonation, reported, take cover immediately. We stared at one another. An aide laughed nervously, has to be a test. Then the windows flashed white. Daylight came back for half a second, hot as a forge. A bass-deep thump rolled through the floor tiles. Sprinkler heads rattled overhead. Car alarms keened outside like wounded animals. The power died. The emergency generator coughed and failed. Down the hall, monitors shrilled their disconnect alarms. In the distance, a pillar of fire climbed into the clouds, glowing orange at its core. I remember thinking it looked biblical, the Tower of Babel burning. I corralled the residents into a reinforced interior corridor, the closest pine groves had to a shelter. Lead paint and old plaster wouldn't stop radiation, but panic kills faster. I checked vitals by flashlight while Jess, a terrified CNA, hand-cranked the weather radio. Nothing but static. Cell service gone. By dawn, the fallout sirens had sputtered out. The wind smelled metallic, pennies and ozone. We had battery lanterns and 2 tubs of melting cafeteria ice. Oxygen concentrators were useless without power. The frailest residents went on portable tanks, rationed 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off. I kept thinking rescue will come by morning. This is America. Sunrise burned the horizon bloody red, turning the ash cloud into a thunderhead. No help came. 48 hours later, the medication cart was stripped bare. Freezer food sagged into puddles. The nearest strip mall was a mile up Farm Road 11. I was the fittest staff member left. Marathons and late-night salads before double shifts. So I went. For makeshift protection, I wrapped a surgical mask in duct tape and pulled on our maintenance guy's raincoat. The composite recurve bow my dad gave me last Christmas, just in case the world ends, he joked, went over my shoulder. Gentry's Market looked bombed even though it hadn't been. Windows were blown out by the blast wave. Shopping carts lay mangled like roadkill. Inside, the air tasted of spoiled meat and spilled wine. I filled a duffel with canned soup, distilled water, batteries. I was debating dented peaches when I heard breathing, wet, syrupy. At the aisle's far end stood a mail carrier. His head drooped at an impossible angle. Skin sagged in grey strips. Crimson fishes laced his cheeks. The right eye was a cloudy marble. "Sir, are you hurt?" I began. He lunged. No warning, no hesitation, just raw hunger. I saw bone where lips should be and understood. Fallout hadn't just poisoned bodies. It had mutated minds. Training took over. I knocked an arrow, drew, released. The shaft thunked into his sternum. He kept coming, fingernails claw-sharp. I stepped left, loosed a second arrow through his eye from 6 feet. The thing twitched and collapsed, blood hissing on linoleum as if it were acid. Somewhere beyond the shattered storefront, voices screamed and abruptly cut off. I bolted for Pine Groves, Geiger counter ticking faster with every block. CB chatter, when it worked, pieced the rumor together. The blast vaporized tens of thousands, but the fallout carried a mutagenic isotope. High enough dose, and you either died or changed. The changed attacked like animals. Their radioactive blood was contagious. One bite, one scratch, and a victim boiled with fever, bled from the eyes, and turned within 12 hours. We donned gowns and gloves just to change bandages. Residents began to fade. Oxygen tanks emptied. Warm insulin lost potency. Ms. Doyle seized in her sleep. Mr. Hernandez slipped into a coma I couldn't wake him from. Callahan lasted longest, demanding his poker game even as his kidneys quit. He died clutching the deck, cards fluttering like brittle leaves. One patient remained. Lily Chen, 87, stroke survivor, whose laugh sounded like wind chimes. She'd been a school teacher. When others moaned in pain, she told stories about children tracing letters in dust-lit classrooms. I moved her into the interior supply closet. No windows, easiest to defend. The bow became my language. I fletched arrows from mop handles and steak knives. I learned a skull's seams, temple, orbital socket, brainstem. No wasted shots. I navigated alleys by sound, listening for the ragged inhalation zombies made. Half whistle, half growl. The clever ones mimic speech. Help. To bait the soft-hearted. I stopped being soft-hearted. Humans were harder. 3 weeks post-blast, 5 strangers arrived in stolen police armor, demanding our supplies. I barricaded the front doors with hospital beds, but they pried plywood off a side window. I met them in the lobby, bow drawn. Back off, I warned. A woman in a riot helmet snorted. Cute toy. We're taking what we need. Her partner raised a shotgun. I put an arrow through his throat. Chaos erupted. Muzzle flashes, deafening echoes. I dove behind the reception desk, felt pellets chew the laminate above my head. By the end, 3 arrows, a fire axe, and sheer terror left 4 intruders bleeding on the linoleum. The 5th fled. I dragged the bodies outside for the dead to claim. Mercy was a luxury I could no longer afford. Supplies thinned. My palms blistered from cranking a hand generator just to power a single bulb over Lily's cot. Each dawn I checked her pulse and lied to myself that it felt strong. I halved my own rations to stretch her broth, watering it until it was mostly heat in a cup. I kept a journal to stay sane. Day 27, sky still grey. Gamma reading indoors safe, riverfront spikes. Killed 8 Zeds, 1 dog. Forgive me. Lily smiled at breakfast, worth everything, but nothing grows in ash forever. Day 35 began with eerie calm. No distant gunfire, no guttural moans drifting from the woods. After feeding Lily, I pushed north, scavenging derelict farmhouses. The hike back dragged, my breaths rasped under the respirator. A summer storm was rolling in when I reached Pine Groves and saw them. A herd, 30, maybe 40 zombies swarming the entrance, arms clawing at boarded windows, drawn by some scent I'd left or by pure luck. I circled behind the maintenance shed, heart jackhammering. 1 by 1 kills were impossible. Instead, I cracked open the fuel reservoir, soaked a bundle of arrows in gasoline, lit them from a broken floodlight, and lofted fire into the crowd. Flaming corpses reeled, setting others ablaze until the whole mass became a writhing bonfire. Smoke stung my eyes with greasy, burned meat stink. Inside, acrid haze filled the hall. Lily's door was ajar. She lay motionless, too motionless. "Sarah," she whispered when I knelt, voice thin as cobwebs. It's okay. It wasn't. Her pulse fluttered like a moth, slowed. I gave her the last of the morphine, stroked her silver hair, hummed the lullaby she'd taught me about plum blossoms. At midnight she slipped away, peaceful in a world that had forgotten peace. I wrote Lily Chen, teacher, loved on a bedsheet and pinned it across her door. Then I sat alone in the closet, surrounded by emptied shelves. One arrow remained in my quiver. I turned it slowly, feeling the calm that would come after release. No more screams, no more hunger, no more promises broken by scarcity. I fitted the bowstring beneath my chin. The portable radio, silent 12 straight days, crackled, static popped, then a voice, young, maybe a teenager. Anyone out there? Please, if you can hear me, we're at the Franklin High Gym. We have food, we have medicine, we need help. I froze. The rational part of me hissed trap. But the part that sat by Lily's side and promised gardens heard the tremble in that voice. I lowered the bow. Franklin High. This is Sarah Mitchell, I said into the mic, sounding steadier than I felt. I'm coming. Outside, the storm had eased, ash mixed with rain, turning blacktop into a mirror that caught distant lightning. I slung the bow, packed the dwindling supplies, and stepped into the night. The world was ending, yes, but as long as someone called for help, I would answer. That would be my purpose now, carved deeper than fear, burning brighter than the bomb that tried to snuff us out.